Anthony Joshua was on an interview doing the DAZN, preparing for the big fight at Wembley Stadium in 2 weeks from now. And he said this. He said that he could still fight Deontay Wilder in the future. The exact quote reads this: "The fight could still happen. For me, why not? I've always said it. I've always said it's not a big deal for me. Strip away the bright lights and the trash talk. It's only a fight. So yeah, I'd fight Wilder." Well, when I think about that, it excites me a little bit from the standpoint of, sure, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua. That's a fight that we'd be excited for. But in today's world, it's 2024, and the last time I felt truly generally excited for it was, about a year ago, right? When we were preparing for the December 23rd Riyadh season card, and it all seemed lined up that we had Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua on the same card, and both guys should have won that night, and then we're going to get into the big match. Anthony Joshua certainly did his part that night, and Wilder, well, was shocking to the rest of the world in terms of how he performed against Joseph Parker. Not that it was a devastating loss, but more so the fact that didn't look like Wilder. And that's why when I see this potential, people want to call it that, fight between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, I get puzzled a little bit. I wonder, why would this fight still even happen? One day these guys are both retired, and 7, 8, 9 years from now, and they do an exhibition fight. Okay, maybe. But today, it just doesn't make sense. Now, possible anything happens in today's boxing world with Turkey involved and everything along those lines, but it just doesn't make sense for AJ. AJ's got himself set up for the foreseeable future. I don't see him going back and fighting Wilder. Now, Wilder could certainly work his way back up and into the mix and compete one day, but that's what I really want to go into right now, because is that worth it for Wilder? When you talk about Deontay Wilder, there's an interesting component to him. He is, in my opinion, the hardest hitting boxer of all time. I understand people would debate that. I understand people are going to fight that. It is your own opinion. I'm A-okay with that. What Deontay Wilder did for boxing was sensational. Regardless of what your stance on him, you can't say that he did not entertain fans. You can't say that he was not powerful. You cannot say that he was not somebody that was one of the premier names in boxing for the past decade. He's a guy that will most likely be heading to the Hall of Fame and has had one heck of a remarkable career, especially when you consider the late start that he had to boxing and the fact that he rose so quickly to becoming a silver medalist in the Olympics and then progressed and became a world champion and set himself up for this massive amounts of success that he was able to accomplish and have while starting boxing so late, simply because of the power in which he possessed, and he has some of the most devastating knockouts to ever live. That being said, Wilder's accomplished just about everything you could really want, essentially, in boxing. And at this point in time, the only thing left would be undisputed or something along those lines, and that's going to take work to get to. You see, Deontay Wilder is a guy that I love as a heavyweight fighter. He's one of the premier guys I've always looked up to and watched and enjoyed. One of the first guys I actually fell in love with in terms of boxing, actually the first. And when I think about Deontay Wilder, I think the power is still there. I don't question the power. I question the heart. And that's the reality of fighting. Fighting is not a sport you play. It's what you do. And when you box, you do it for something. He made his statement as to why he fought very, very clear from the very beginning. And he did that and accomplished that goal. So at this point in time, he's already accomplished the goal. He has generational wealth. What else is there for him to gain that aspect other than going into a ring, getting punched in the face when you've already accomplished everything? It's a lot harder to take a punch when you have generational wealth than it is when you're broke and you need something and you need that money. And so Deontay Wilder's in a position where, sure, he could keep fighting. But if I'm Deontay Wilder, here's what I'm saying. Anthony Joshua, that sounds like a great fight. That could be entertaining. That would have been great 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. But if Wilder wants to fight, these are really the only things I see as likely. One, he needs to switch trainers, and he needs to make sure that he gets his heart back and his mindset right, where he actually gets somebody he's going to listen to and actually teach him how to fight again and get that dog out of him. If he doesn't have that mindset, it's all over regardless of what division he wants to do it at. So if that's what he's going to do, and he truly wants to commit to boxing, and he decides to get Malik Scott out of there, he decides to completely commit to boxing and have somebody come in there that's not just a yes man and actually push him around and get him to be the best version of himself, great. And he gets that dog back in him, then let's see what he can do at the heavyweight division. All for that. If that's not the case, then obviously number 2, sure, go down and fight another division. Go to bridgerweight, go to cruiserweight, whatever the case may be. Go ahead and try that out. Could it be interesting? Could it be intriguing? Maybe. But that's the only other option. Now, option number 3 is retire. Maybe go to an exhibition fight or something like that against a celebrity dude like Jake Paul, if Jake Paul even wants that or something. I don't know. But from your professional career, retire. That's my advice for what I'd like to see from Deontay Wilder. So when I see this Anthony Joshua, sure, Anthony Joshua's in the A-OK right there. What is there to lose for AJ? AJ would destroy Deontay Wilder if that fight occurred today. That would not be a fight today if that occurred. Sure, puncher's chance. And I just said Deontay Wilder still has his power, I believe. So does he have a legitimate chance? Of course, it is boxing. It's one shot. It's over. But if we're talking who's going to win the boxing match and who you're going to bet on and who has the best odds, it's AJ, and it's not even comparable. Now, it is interesting. Obviously, AJ has no reason to even possibly contemplate that type of fight. So for AJ to even consider that is interesting because AJ's in a prime position. He probably does recognize that it's not going to happen. Therefore, he has a lot less of a necessity to do that. So he can just say, sure, I'm going to do it. I would do it, whatever, when he knows it's never going to happen. But that isn't a fight that I'm intrigued to see anymore. And it's unfortunate because AJ versus Deontay Wilder would have been the biggest fight you could have made between 2010 and 2020. You couldn't have made a bigger fight, especially in that 2016 to 2018 range. That would have been the biggest fight to make in boxing. And they failed to do so. Unfortunately, Turkey wasn't involved back then, and that's the type of situation we had. You could have had undisputed. Didn't occur. So that could always be a debate that we just say, what if? But ultimately, when you look at boxing over that decade span, there's a lot of what ifs. Boxing was not being well ran. There was not somebody like Turkey making sure that stuff got done. And you have countless what ifs. That was the problem with boxing that Turkey is starting to fix and be able to grow now. So for me, no, I don't want that fight to occur anymore. It makes no sense. I think Wilder would pretty much get killed in the ring. It would make no sense for either side of them unless a massive shift occurs in the mindset of Deontay Wilder and he decides to actually come back. But at this point, I think Deontay Wilder should retire unless he wants to go move down to bridgerweight or cruiserweight, or he wants to actually retire or fire his coach training group and Malik Scott and go get his dog mentality back. That's the only way around this. Regardless, at this point in time, if that fight occurs, I'm putting my money all on AJ. Is what it is. And I hate to say that, but it's true.